Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Taking a trident in his hand and making the surface of the earth tremble with his footsteps, that blazing creature came before Maharaj Ambarish. But the king, upon seeing him, was not at all disturbed and did not move even slightly from his position. Purport. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana vibhyati. Bhagavatam 6:17-28. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, a pure devotee of Narayana is never afraid of any material danger. There are many examples of devotees, such as Prahlad Maharaj, who was tortured by his father but was not at all afraid, although he was only a 5-year-old boy. Therefore, following the examples of Ambarish Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj, a devotee should learn how to tolerate all such awkward positions in this world. Devotees are often tortured by non-devotees. Yet the pure devotee, depending fully on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is never disturbed by such inimical activities. Srila Prabhupada ki. So before I start, I want to tell you that I have been instructed to sit here on this seat even though I'm not qualified. I do not give classes so much. And especially here in England, facing an audience, very learned and spiritually advanced devotees. But I have to follow the instructions of our temple president. There is a small doha by a great Muslim devotee called Rahim. And he says, Rahiman dono ek se, jolo bolat nahi. Jaan padat hai kaak pik, ritu basant ke mahi. He's saying that there are two birds, one is a crow and one is a cuckoo bird. So both of them are black and very similar looking. Rahiman dono ek se, jolo bolat nahi. So how do you distinguish between the two birds, the cuckoo bird, the koyal, and the crow is when they speak. So, Rahiman dono ek se jolo bolat nahi. Jaan padat hai kaak. Kaak is crow and pik is a cuckoo bird. Jaan padat hai kaak pik. Ritu basant ke mahi. In the springtime, both of them have a tendency to talk. So, I sit here as a crow in front of you, now that I have been given a chance to speak. So, you will please, whatever I say will be some repetition and the understandings that I have accumulated in a few years of service to Srila Prabhupada in this movement. Mukham karoti vachalam pangulam gayate girim tatkripa tamaham bandhe Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Manovishtam. Hare Krishna. There is a story about Durvasa Muni and Vashishta Muni. One time, both these great sages, they had an argument. And in the argument, they were trying to decide who is a greater sage, who has more powers, who is more potent a personality. So, because both these sages were very great sages, nobody could make that decision. So ultimately they went to Seshanag. They said Seshanag is the only personality who can decide amongst us who is a greater sage, who has more powers. So sometimes even great sages like this get into a competition about who is greater. So they go to Seshanag And they say, this is our argument. We have this problem. We want to know who amongst us is the greater one. So Seshanag is thinking, here, two sages are coming with the same problem. This problem happens in our organization all the time. We're always trying to understand who is the greater devotee. So Seshanag Prabhu, he said, this is a very difficult question to answer, and I have to meditate with a cool head. And this Mother Earth is sitting very heavy on my head. So why don't one of you take the weight off my head, take the earth for some time while I think, and then I will let you know which one of you is greater. So Durvasa Muni said, that is no problem. I am a great tapasvi. I have done tapasya for 10,000 years, and I have so many powers I have accumulated. So give me the earth, I will hold for you while you think. So Seshanag said, okay, here's earth. As soon as Durvasa Muni took, the weight of the earth was so heavy that he wasn't able to. So he said, what are you doing? You're going to drop the earth in Patala Loka. So he took the earth back. And then he looked at Vashishta Muni. Vashishta Muni was a mere Purohit of Lord Ram's kingdom. Suryavanshi Purohit. So he looked at him. He said, so can you do this? And Vashishta said, how can I do? I am just a mere Purohit. I have nothing, no power to hold the heavy weight of Mother Earth. So Seshanag said, you must have done something pious in your life, and that you can put as a stake. With the piety of that, the potency of that piety, you might be able to do this act. Try, think. And Vashishta Muni said, yes, one time I spent one muhurata. One muhurat is 45 minutes. One muhurat. One muhurat, I sat in Srimad Bhagavatam class. I was hearing the glories of the Lord, but I was half asleep, which is usual. Sleeping in class is, the favorite pastime of us devotees. So he said, in Ardha Nidra, in half sleep, I heard Srimad Bhagavatam for one muhurata. So I put that as my stake, as my piety, and see if that will be enough. So he said, okay, we will try. And Seshanag gave the earth to Vashishta Muni, and he was very easily able to hold it with the piety of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam for one muhurta in a half-sleeping state. So then after some time of meditation, he took the earth back, Seshanag, and then he kept quiet. So Durvasa Muni, as we have been are being introduced to his personality here, he was all angry and he said, so, what is your decision? You've not said anything. So Seshanag Prabhu said, do I need to say any further? Which one of you is greater? So, the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, the hearing of the glories of the Lord, even in a half-sleeping state, gives more piety than 10,000 years of Durvasa's tapasya. Vashishta Muni proved that he actually was a more pious, with greater qualities than Durvasa Muni, simply because he had heard Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the wonderful quality of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, how Srimad Bhagavatam gives spiritual potency to a devotee, to a sadhaka. One time I had heard one sannyasi in our movement, he analyzed that Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for hearing and Bhagavad Gita is meant for doing. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is always instructing Arjuna, Arjuna, now you do this, now you behave like this, now this is what you do. So that Bhagavatam is instructions for doing Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavatam is instructions for hearing. Simply by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, one will make spiritual advancement. One will become a devotee of Krishna, a lover of Krishna, and he will also imbibe all the wonderful qualities that Krishna has and Krishna wants us to have. He wants us to have a nature like his. And only then will he welcome us back to his abode. If we do not develop a nature like Krishna's, then we cannot be welcomed back to his Golok Vrindavan Dham. There is one other doha I will mention. Chama badan ko chahiye, chotan ko utpat. Kya bhayo Vishnu ko, jo bhrigu ne mari lat. So the poet is saying that if you are a bigger person, then you should always be Chamashil. You should always be forgiving. Chama badan ko chahiye, chotan ko utpat. And the person who makes disturbance, he is obviously a smaller person. Chotan ko utpat. Kya bhayo Vishnu ko, jo bhrigu ne mari lat. Bhrigu Muni was such a great saintly person, and he kicked Vishnu. He was testing. He was testing who was the superior personality amongst Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. So he behaved in different adverse ways with all these three personalities, of whom the most adverse behavior was with Vishnu. With Brahma, he only did not stand up to Brahma, and Brahma became angry. With Lord Shiva, he wanted to embrace Bhrigu Muni because he was his brother. And he said, no, you are a dirty fellow. You got all these snakes and everything. I'm a Brahmana, don't embrace me. And Lord Shiva wanted to kill him. He became so angry. But he tested Vishnu while Vishnu was lying down and Lakshmi Devi was massaging. His wife was there, and in that situation, Bhrigu went to Vaikuntha and he kicked him on his chest. But Lord Vishnu's reaction was, my dear Brahmana, my chest is very hard and your lotus feet, they are very soft. So I am sure my chest has hurt your lotus feet. So that was his reaction, you see. So kya bhayo Vishnu ko, jo bhrigu ne mari lat. And by that act of Vishnu, of complete tolerance, and despite that act of Bhrigu Muni, he was only praising the Brahmana. And today we sing that glory of Lord Vishnu, of his patience, of his tolerance, of his seeing only good qualities in another. So because Krishna has these qualities, he also expects us to develop these qualities in order to have a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whether we want to be his servant or his sakha, whatever relationship we want to develop with the Supreme Lord, or whether we in the material world want to even live in the temple, which is the Lord's temple, the Lord's house, these qualities must be developed and maintained in order to peacefully perform our sadhana. There is a place I read one quote by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. And he's instructing his disciples. He says, in this world of Maya, averse to the Lord, full of trials and tribulations, only patience, tolerance, and full of trials and tribulations. Only patience, tolerance, and good wishes for another are our friends of Hari Bhajan. So these are the three qualities that we have to always maintain in our character, is that we must be patient in any situation. We must be extremely tolerant in every situation. And we must always have utmost respect for other people. And only then those three qualities are our only friends of Hari Bhajan. So sometimes we do Hari Bhajan, but we do not pay enough attention to the subtleties of our sadhana, due to which we are facing so many difficulties in our bhakti and in our relationship to Krishna and the sadhana that we perform. Many greatly saintly people in so many different ways, they have tried to elaborate on this one particular point. And here in Ambarish Maharaj's character, in his bhakti, this is the greatest quality that is being exhibited by Ambarish Maharaj. Ambarish Maharaj was a great sevak of Krishna, great servant of the Lord. He was very extremely rich, so rich that he had Abhya Lakshmi. Lakshmi Devi would never finish in his kingdom. No matter how much he spent, how much charity he gave, she would always remain there and fill up his kingdom with more and more wealth. But despite all that, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this one prasanga has been taken by Sukadev Goswami in order to show this one quality of Ambarish Maharaj, that even though Ambarish Maharaj was being dealt with very unjustly by a great sadhu, he did not retaliate. He was a Kshatriya by nature. Somebody was telling me the other day, he said, Prabhuji, the problem is that we have too many Brahmanas in our movement and not enough Kshatriyas. I said, thank God for that. We don't have. We should have Brahmanas. We should always exhibit Brahmanical qualities. So here, even though he is a Kshatriya, he is the greatest king, a very powerful personality, but yet he is exhibiting extreme patience, extreme tolerance, and thereby he is able to win over Durvasa Muni. And so Krishna came to his help, to his aid, because he exhibited those qualities of surrender. Krishna says in the Gita, he says, Sarva dharman parityaja. Everything you must have to give up and only have to depend on me. Mam ekang sharanam braja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisami masuchaha. Do not fear. This is the point Prabhupada is bringing here, that a devotee does not fear because in every situation he sees Krishna. And because he knows Krishna is his friend, and whatever is happening to him in any adverse situation will ultimately be for his own good. And so he remains very peaceful. There is a Drishtanta story. Sometimes some stories are told just to elaborate on a certain philosophy, a certain point. So there is this Drishtanta. There was a king who was very successful and somewhat pious. And his greatest fortune was that he had a prime minister who was a Vaishnava, a great devotee of the Lord. So every morning the king would come in his court and he would say things that happened to him the previous day. So all the people in the court, they would say, "Oh king, so nice, that's wonderful that this happened to you." Or if anything bad happened, then they would also, "Oh, this was not so good, I'm sure things will become better for you." And then after that, the king would look at his prime minister and want a reaction from him. And the prime minister would be chanting and he would say, "Oh king, whatever happens, happens for the good." So the king kind of got used to this. Only reaction he said was, "Oh king, whatever happens, happens for the good." So one day, the king was feeling a little extra love for his Rani, the queen. So he went into the kitchen to help her do some cooking. And as you know, the kings do not know how to cut sabji. So he was trying to help the queen in cutting some sabji, and he cut his finger quite badly. So next morning in the court, he came and told everyone that this is what happened to me yesterday, and I have now cut my finger. So then he looked at the prime minister, and the prime minister said, "O king, whatever happens, happens for the good." And at that point, the king lost his tolerance, and he said, "I have cut my finger and you are saying whatever happens, happens for the good. This guy is not my supporter. Put him in jail. So they put him in jail. That evening, the king was scheduled to go to the forest for shikar, for hunting. And he would always take his prime minister with him. But because the prime minister was put in jail by the king, he had to go alone. So he goes into the forest and he travels far beyond his kingdom. It becomes night time, and at the border of his kingdom, he gets caught by a bunch of cannibals. And that night was a moonless night, and the cannibals were looking for a human being to sacrifice to goddess Kali. And they had not found anybody, so they found this king. And not knowing that he was the king because he was out of his borders, they caught him and they tied him up and they wanted to slit his throat and offer him. So there is a system, even amongst the cannibals, that when they make an offering of a human being to goddess Kali, they check the entire body to make sure that the body is very intact. There is no bruises or cuts or anything. Otherwise, that offering cannot be made. So while he was being checked, they noticed that cut on his finger. So they told the chief of the cannibals that sorry, he cannot be offered because he already has a big cut on his finger. So the cannibals king said, okay, let him go. We will do it next time. This time there is no offering to be made. And he was very happy. He said, oh my God, look at this. Because of this one little finger cut, today my neck would have been cut. I got saved. So he quickly came back to his kingdom and he brought the prime minister to the court next day and he apologized. He said, I'm so sorry. You were so right. Whatever happens, happens for the good. Because if my finger was not cut, today I would not be sitting in front of you. So everyone said, yes, yes, wonderful. This is very nice. But then the king put another question right there to the prime minister. He said, my finger got cut, therefore my life was saved. That was good. But you got put into jail. How was that good? He said, my dear king, if I was not put into jail, I would be with you hunting, and you have a cut, you would be spared, and my neck would have been cut. So my going to jail was also whatever happens, happens for the good. So this is how the devotee patiently, he awaits the mercy of the Lord in every situation. He does not quickly react or overreact out of fear. This is what Srila Prabhupada is bringing out, this point, that mostly we react out of fear. And that reaction is wrong because at that time, in the state of fear, we have a tendency to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Krishna, in his conclusive statement, he says, Ma Suchaha. He tells Arjuna, Ma Suchaha, do not fear. Fear is the innate quality of a conditioned soul separated from his father and mother. A child, when separated from his mother, the only thing the child is thinking is fear. And he acts out of fear. He cries out of fear. He runs here and there looking for his mother out of fear. And this is how we living entities are. Fear has caught us because of our lost relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But this relationship, it cannot be brought back in a gross way. We also have to subtly become attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's another doha that says, Moti maya sab taje, jhini taji na jaye, Pir Paigambar Auliya, jhini sabko khai. That we are able to give up the gross mayas, the four regulative principles we are able to follow, living in the temple, chanting Hare Krishna, becoming vegetarian, eating Krishna Prasad. So this is Moti Maya. In a very broad sense, we are able to follow the principles of religion. But jhini means subtle Maya. And subtle Maya here is being described, this quality of fear, this we have to give up. And this we can only give up when we can imbibe in ourselves qualities of patience, of tolerance, of always seeing the good in the other, always having respect for the other. When we exercise these qualities, we may not have them, but when we exercise these qualities as sadhana, then we come to the platform of Ambarish Maharaj. That in extreme situations, we will behave in such a saintly manner as Ambarish Maharaj has done. This is a true story about Tukaram. Tukaramji used to go for a bath in the river every morning, and even in the winter he would go. So one time he was coming from his bath in the winter from the river, and he was quite old, and he would have to pass through a Muslim locality. So one day, one Muslim person on the rooftop of his house, he was brushing his teeth, and he saw Tukaram, a Hindu saint, coming. And this was, the Muslims were ruling India at that time. So while brushing his teeth, he took some water in his mouth and he spat on Tukaram. So Tukaramji saw the spit coming and fell right on his head and his body. And Tukaramji just turned around, went back to the river, and he took another bath. And he was coming, and the Muslim person spat again. So now it became a play for him. So Tukaram again went back and took bath. And again the same thing happened. And like this, the Muslim person spat on Tukaramji 100 times. And Tukaramji did not even as much as look up in anger. He just would turn around and take his bath, and by now he was shivering in the cold, but he kept, because he had to purify himself in order to do his deity worship. So the 100th time when the Muslim spat on him, Tukaramji took his bath, he came back, the Muslim came down from the rooftop from his house. Hare Krishna, Shri Shri Radha Gokulanand ki jai, Sitaram Hanuman ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai. So the deities want to hear their devotees' glorification. So Tukaramji was returning back on his 100th bath. The Muslim man, he came down the stairs of his house and fell at the feet of Tukaram. He said, I want to apologize. I have been counting. 100 times I have spat at you, and you have not said anything. How is that possible? Not even so much as shown some anger. Tukaramji said, I was simply thinking how merciful my Lord is today, that he is giving me the opportunity to take 100 baths in one day. That's all I was thinking. So where was the question of blaming you for anything? You were simply instrumental in that pastime of the Lord. So vision is everything. How we look at things, that's why Prabhupada ji, he said Krishna consciousness. Consciousness means vision. How we look at life, how we look at activities, how we look at another, how we look at situations, that is the consciousness we will slowly develop. Similar story like this, just to elaborate on this one point of Ambarish Maharaj's glory and how a saintly person acts in very simple ways. There was a saintly person who was taking bath in a river, and his disciples were all around. And while he was taking bath, he saw a scorpion that was in the river, but it was drowning because scorpions do not know how to swim. So the saintly person, because they are extremely compassionate towards every living entity, he wanted to take the scorpion with some water in his hand and flick him out of the river so that he would be able to save his life. Yes, did you want to say? Okay, Hare Krishna. No, it's okay. Hare Krishna. So, the saintly person, he tried to flick him out of the river, and scorpions have a tendency of biting, and a scorpion bite immediately spreads poison in the body. The pain is immediate, unlike the snake bite that takes a little slow poisoning. So the poisoning was so immediate that as soon as he tried to do that act, the scorpion bit him, and he went, ah, and he let the scorpion go. And then again he saw that he was drowning, so he tried again, and the scorpion did the same thing. So the disciples, they were watching this Maharaj who's doing this thing and getting bitten by the scorpion. So third time, very quickly, he took a little more water and flicked him out and saved his life. So the disciples, they asked, they said, why are you trying to save the scorpion when he's constantly biting you? So the sadhu said, the scorpion would not give up his nature. Why should I give up mine? See, this is the point to understand, is that if somebody is behaving with us in a wrong way, he is doing it out of his nature. Why should I give up my higher nature, my higher qualities, and come down to his level to react with him in that manner? So therefore, the qualities of tolerance, qualities of patience, qualities of extreme well-wishing for the other person must always be maintained, and that brings Krishna to the aid of the devotee. So, these are just some of the points I thought I would elaborate on. Thank you very much. It was wonderful to be here for the last 3 days, to see the Sunday feast program, and then to be here for Srimati Radharani's wonderful festival that so many devotees participated in. In the end, I would mention that we are here traveling around the world, trying to make this very big, large temple that Srila Prabhupada so much wanted. Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish Krishna consciousness on the face of this earth, and that is why, in his honor, we have designated him that Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, that you are that wonderful personality, Vaishnava, who has come for one purpose of establishing Krishna on planet Earth. And in order to do that, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us books, he gave us philosophy, kirtan, temples, so many things. But he knew that it is the temples, the building of these temples, that will keep Krishna consciousness in this Kali Yuga, influencing the people of Kali Yuga. One time he mentioned that I do not want the world to say the Hare Krishnas came, they chanted, they danced, and they went away. Therefore, you should build temples. So that is why he himself built so many centers and temples, and he encouraged us to build temples, of which he personally wanted a very large temple in Sridham Mayapur. And one of the reasons is that the Mayapur temple is actually a prediction by Nityananda Prabhu. So it is not something that is coming from Srila Prabhupada's mind. It is a prediction by the Supreme Lord himself. When he was taking Jiva Goswami on parikrama of Navadvip Dham, he mentioned, it was there in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Nityananda Prabhu was telling Jiva Goswami, when he came to Mayapur, he pointed out and he said, Iha ek adbhut mandira hoibe vikash. That right here, ek adbhut mandir, an astounding temple, adbhut mandira hoibe vikash, will manifest. Vikash means to manifest, or it also means to be built. Gaurangor Nitya Seva hoibe prakash. And from here, Gaurango Mahaprabhu's Nitya Seva, Hoibe Prakash, will emanate, this temple will emanate the potency of Mahaprabhu's glories all over the world. This temple will do it. This temple will establish Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna incarnate in Kali Yuga. And people will accept and people will surrender to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thereby follow the philosophy and the process of bhakti given to us by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in that same line, that same mood, the same prediction, our Acharyas, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, they have always strived to glorify Sri Dham Mayapur, to bring people to Sri Dham Mayapur, and somehow or the other make Sri Dham Mayapur be recognized in the Vaishnava community and also in the human society at large, for which Srila Prabhupada one time, in 1972, when the Mayapur land was recently acquired, it was the month of December, and Srila Prabhupada was giving a lecture glorifying his Guru Maharaj, and at that time he explained to his few disciples, he said, every Vaishnava Acharya has done something glorious as his personal offering to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and has done something very glorious in Mayapur. And he said, Bhakti Vinod Thakur Maharaj, he went door to door and collected money and built the Mahaprabhu's birthplace. And my Guru Maharaj, even though he built 63 mathas, temples all over India, the largest one he built was in Mayapur, and he made Mayapur the world headquarters of Gaudiya Math. And that was his personal offering to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Srila Prabhupada, he folded his hands to his own disciples, and he said, I thank you, boys and girls, very much for helping me to build this temple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as my personal offering to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Srila Prabhupada profusely started to cry. He wasn't able to speak anymore. So this was his deep sentiment of wanting to offer by the assistance of his disciples and grand disciples, this wonderful Adbhut Mandir to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that the entire world could benefit by coming to Mayapur, by entering into the Audarya Dham. Mayapur is a dham that is called Audarya Dham. It is munificent dham. It is a place where indiscriminately the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is giving his mercy, not discriminating whether the recipient is actually qualified to receive his mercy or not. Indiscriminately, Krishna has closed his eyes and is distributing his mercy in Sri Dham Mayapur in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it becomes the utmost duty of every devotee to make it a prayer in their daily life that this temple should be built without any hindrances, and support this temple in whichever way you can, so that in our lifetimes we can become dhanya, we can become blessed, that in our lifetimes we were able to work to make this auspicious temple manifest. It is like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is personally manifesting in the form of this temple in Sri Dham Mayapur. So the reason for my mentioning this is I am leaving this morning for Russia, and this is my prayer to the Vaishnava community, and of course at the lotus feet of their lordships, that please give us your blessings, give us the potency to be able to go on struggling with this one very big task that Srila Prabhupada has given us. But we should not see it as a task. We should see it as mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that he has given us all the credit of building this temple together and offering it to Srila Prabhupada as our gratitude to Srila Prabhupada for what Srila Prabhupada has done for all of us by bringing Krishna consciousness to every nook and corner of the world. So this is a wonderful thing for all of us to put our energies in. Before Srila Prabhupada departed the planet, one of the statements, very profound statements he made was, your love for me will show as to how well you all cooperate with each other. So this is where he put our love to test. that everyone is saying, Prabhupada, I love you, I love you, I love you. But this is how you will show your love to me, by cooperating with each other. So this is the time. This temple requires the cooperation of every devotee in this movement. Let us cooperate together, concentrate together to make this temple happen, and we want to offer it to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is my small prayer before I end the class. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.